Rabbit was famous for being banned from eBay for shill bidding. Like it or not, shill bidding happens on just about every auction platform. It's not the auction platform's problem unless they support it or engage in it or turn a blind eye to it, which maybe some of them do. But listen, it happens everywhere. It happens at the physical auctions. It happens on online auctions. There's all sorts of manipulation going on. So a lot of people say, well, that's why I'm never going to use such and such online auction. And it's like, well, can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's thousands and thousands of legitimate transactions for the ones that are manipulated, but ultimately you just have to decide how much you're willing to pay and not let somebody else shill bid you, right? Like it doesn't matter if they bid you up to what market value is if you weren't going to get it for less than market anyway. Nobody can manipulate you unless you allow them to ultimately. But something that I talked about on my podcast and a story that went viral to a lot of controversy was a story about one of my customers who shill bid his own car. This customer is an interesting guy. I've fired him twice, but he keeps coming back. I don't know if it's because nobody else will deal with him or he just likes me that much, but it's always an interesting day when he shows up, or for that matter, texts me, because he texts books and books. But if he shows up to the shop, the entire place grinds to a halt for the better part of the day, because when he shows up, he wants to do a deal. Now, that would be most car salesmen's dream, but sometimes you're just not ready to do a deal. That is his way of negotiating. And by deal, I mean he wants to sell us a car, right? I'm always happy to sell somebody a car, but again, sometimes the deal isn't there to be made. But if the person won't leave until you make a deal, yet also won't meet your terms of reasonableness, I'm like, okay, we're going to be here all day. But I know when he comes to the shop that he's going to be there for 4 to 5 hours unless we make a deal very, very quickly, which rarely happens because his expectations are just usually out of whack. He brought us a Mercedes G63 to sell on his behalf. I'm not usually a fan of marketing anything with more than 2 doors, but, you know, it's still an AMG, and I'm not going to kick it out. It's a nice car. Fine, we'll sell it. So we tried to sell it on the open market for a little bit, got some offers, didn't really get any traction. He goes, well, let's try bring a trailer, which, side note, is a lot of my customers, they just always default to that. Oh, sell my car and bring a trailer. Sell my car and bring a trailer. And I said, well, let's think about that for a second, because just because you see some record sales on online auctions doesn't mean they're all going to be records. You also typically have to accept a fairly low reserve because they want a high sell-through rate. So you've got to take a significant risk in order to maybe get the upside of, hey, we got a record sale. And with 100 cars selling there every day, your car is a big potential of getting lost in the mix. So let's consider all options. You know, we have a large social media following, we have a mailing list, we have third-party websites that we use, we have Facebook, et cetera, and buyers come from all avenues. So we don't default to any one particular avenue for the car. We try to determine the best strategy possible. But in this scenario, the guy wanted to run it on Bring a Trailer, and they gave us an acceptable reserve, which was 90 grand. So we said, okay, fine. We'll list it. Let's run it. So we put it up there, and as I kind of expected, it kind of got lost in the mix because it was a run-of-the-mill G63, and there's a lot of really interesting and unique cars selling on BAT. So there was very little action. There was a few bids, a few comments, but it was just a fairly quiet auction, not like the old days when they had 10 auctions ending and everyone was a party and tons of peanut gallery comments and stuff like that. We didn't pay much attention to it, just kind of let it run, and came down to the last day, which is when all the action happens. True to his pattern, he shows up at my office the day of the closing of the auction. And he needs counseling. He's all up in his own head. And, well, what if we lower the reserve to 85? I don't know, but my payoff is 90, so I can't lose money on it. But, I need to sell it. But, man, if I sell it, I'm probably going to buy another one anyway. And, he can't get out of his own head. And I was just like, listen, let's keep the reserve at 90. Let's just see what happens. Like, You can't judge how the auction is going to end based on what it's doing 6 hours before the end. Everything happens in the last 2 minutes. So just sit tight, just chill. I'll call you when things are done. A few minutes left in the auction, I pull up the screen and start watching and see what happens. And the bid was sitting at like 80 grand for the last 5 days. No comments, nothing, kind of quiet. Not super optimistic, but again, you never know until the last minute and those bids start coming in. So they start coming in, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86. Bid gets to 86 grand. Now there's a feature, I guess, that Bring a Trailer has, which I like as a seller. Bring a Trailer collects a 5% buyer fee on top of the winning bid. So for example, if you bid $100,000, you pay $105 because 5 goes to Bring a Trailer. Standard practice for any auction. What Bring a Trailer will do, and they do it automatically, it's in their terms of use when you sign up as a seller or buyer or both, I guess. If the high bid plus the 5% buyer fee exceed the reserve, so essentially if the high bid is within 5% of the reserve, then Bring a Trailer will say, car is sold, and then they will cut back a check to the seller to make up the difference. So the seller nets their reserve, Bring a Trailer doesn't lose money, and the buyer just pays their high bid plus the 5%. It's a fairly simple concept. People on TikTok seem to not understand this, but is what it is. I'm looking at it going 86K, bids at 86K. Okay, 86 times 1.05 is 90,300 or 200, whatever it is. Great, the car is going to sell. We're good. And the seller will net his 90 grand. So it counts down, no more bids, no more bids. Boom, sold at 86K. And at this point I'm going, oh, I should probably tell the owner of the G63, by the way, it didn't sell for 86, it sold for 90. Like, just so you know, like, Bring a Trailer will make up the difference. Don't start freaking out on me, even though he did tell me to lower the reserve to 85. So I text him, I'm like, hey, just so you know, it sold, we're good, we got 90 grand. And I had no sooner sent the text than I get the email from Bring a Trailer. Congratulations, your vehicle is sold. The winning bidder is, I look at the name, and it's the owner of the G63. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. This guy just won his own car. I'm like, what the heck happened? So I text him, I'm like, what did you do? He's like, I was just bidding up my car. I was trying to get it up to reserve. I'm like, yeah, well, problem is you did get reserve because of this 5% thing. And he's like, well, so what happens now? I'm like, nothing happens. You bought your own car and you owe Bring a Trailer $4,300. So he's like freaking out, whatever. He's like, well, can't you just contact the second high bidder and see if they want the car? I don't know who the second high bidder is. And in order to do that, I have to say, like, this is why it didn't go through. He's like, oh, well, actually, the second high bidder is probably a dealer friend of mine because I had a guy bidding it up for me. We were bidding each other up. Hold on. So you and all the other bidders are your people all bidding it up, but you want me to find the one bidder that isn't your people and try to sell it to them. Then he texted me like a couple hours later, freaking out. He's like, wait, Bring a Trailer charged my car for $4,300. Like, what happens now? I'm like, nothing happens. He goes, well, can you contact Bring a Trailer and like get it handled? I was like, no, I don't think you understand. This is me and Bring a Trailer versus you. Like, I've already contacted Bring a Trailer and said, hey, just so you know, this is what happened. I had no knowledge of it, no part in it. Please keep his money because he's an idiot, to make sure that I don't get banned because I've been selling cars on there for 6 years and I don't want to lose my reputation, my relationship with them based on your stupidity. The guy basically paid $4,300 to not sell his car that he was so desperate to sell. And I told this story and put it on Instagram, and of course people are like, oh, well, you should be banned too. And I'm like, I had no idea anything like this was going on. And I don't participate in shill bidding. So not that it's like some grand ethical platform that I stand on. It's just not something I do. And there were people saying that he should go to jail for this, and this is wire fraud and all this stuff. And I'm like, listen, nobody was hurt except him. He paid $4,300 to not sell his car. If that isn't enough punishment for something that nobody even knew happened, good luck tying up the courts with that one. He ended up selling the car. We gave it back to him, and he ended up selling it to a dealer for 85 grand because he probably walked in there and wouldn't walk out until they gave him an offer, and they lowballed the crap out of him. So, Mr. I owe 90 grand on my car. I can't afford to sell it for any less. Paid 4,300 to not sell it, and then sold it for 85. And then started texting me books again, like, I shouldn't have sold it. I need to buy another car. I want to buy this. I want to buy that. What do you think about the car market? Just like, man, sometimes people just can't be helped sometimes.
If you're ready for your next adventure, you're gonna need the right car, and the best way to buy your next car is with the help of Premier Financial Services. The Simple Lease from Premier Financial is the most powerful tool in the world of exotic car financing. You get all the benefits of a traditional loan, like the ability to accumulate equity, pay it off at any time, and they give you a perfectly easy to understand amortization table, but you also get the benefits of a lease, the low payment, the flexible terms, the low down payments, but also you get to use some certain tax benefits that leases entitle you to. They've taken great care of me, and I know they'll take great care of you, so check them out now at the link in the description below.